Hey there, this is Natalie, and in The Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2 Episode 4, Naofumi and his allies ran into three familiar faces: Lark Berg, Therese Alexandrite, and of course, Glass. Naofumi was unsurprisingly not thrilled to see them again, especially Glass, as she's currently the strongest opponent he's ever faced, and when they last met, he'd been informed that she needed to kill him in order to save her own world. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Glass specifically. I'll do another video about Lark and Therese in the future, and I'll be going into who and what she is, as well as what will happen with her later in the story. So there will be heavy spoilers from the Shield Hero light novel series, and you should turn back now if you're anime only and don't want to be spoiled. Okay, so Glass is a vassal weapon holder from another world, as Naofumi has suspected since learning that vassal weapons are a thing. The worlds in this series don't have names, so I'll be referring to the world Glass comes from as Glass's world, and the world Naofumi was summoned to as Raphtalia's world. There are others, but these are the only two worlds I'll need to talk about here. Both worlds have 4 cardinal or holy weapons. In Raphtalia's world, these are of course the sword, shield, bow and spear, and then there are 2 vassal weapons for each one of those. Yes, in Raphtalia's world these are called the 7-star weapons, but that's just because most people in that world don't know about the 8th, which turns out to be Vittoria's teleporting carriage, which we actually saw in Season 1. The set of holy and vassal weapons is unique to the world, so Glass's vassal weapon is the fan and Lark's is the scythe, but there are not a fan and a scythe among the vassal weapons in Raphtalia's world. Therese, their third-party member, isn't actually a vassal weapon holder, so don't worry about her too much here. Now, vassal weapon holders are able to cross between worlds, which holy weapon holders usually cannot. There will be exceptions to this in the series, where Naofumi and others like Itsuki will be given the ability to travel to Glass's world under special circumstances, but it's normally not allowed. There are various ways people travel between worlds throughout the series, but with the times we've seen Glass's party do it so far, what happens is that when the waves occur, 2 worlds are actually paired together, and heroes fighting the waves can use the interdimensional cracks created during the waves to invade the other world paired with their own. The reason Glass is doing that is, as she said in Season 1, because she currently believes the purpose of the vassal weapon holders is to go to other worlds and kill their cardinal heroes, so those worlds will be destroyed by the continuing waves, instead of her own. Her world is actually in a very desperate situation too, because 3 of their holy heroes have been killed, and the other has been imprisoned in an infinite labyrinth that is believed to be inescapable for a couple of years now. Lark, Glass and Therese were friends and allies of that last imprisoned hero, who I'll talk about in a minute, and they believe from legends that they now have no choice but to kill heroes in other worlds and assure their destruction in order to save their own. Now, before I get to that missing hero and what will happen later with Glass, I need to talk a bit more about the mechanics of things in Shield Hero when it comes to people crossing worlds. When someone, even a hero, goes to another world for the first time, their level is reset to 0, and they have to level up in that world separately. They then maintain different levels in each world they've been to. If you've watched my video about demi-human aging, yes, that does mean that when Raphthalia first goes to Glass's world, she reverts to her child form temporarily, before leveling up again. When a wave pairs 2 worlds together though, someone's level in both worlds is actually added together, meaning that if they've spent time in both worlds leveling up, as Glass and her party have, they become much stronger while the wave is happening. This is why Glass looked nervous when Naofumi identified her inside the spirit tortoise. She has only fought him during waves, when her level from her world is added to her level from Raphtalia's world, and so now, without a wave, she's much weaker than he would expect. Whereas Naofumi, who only has a level in one world anyway, and who she can be sure has been training since their last encounter, will be stronger than when he last fought her. This isn't a good time for her to fight him then, and while they do believe they have to kill him, that's not what they're currently doing in Raphtalia's world anyway. They were actually there partly because there's a potion called Soul Soothing Water in Raphtalia's world that doesn't exist in theirs, and which has a potent effect on people of Glass's particular race, which I'll come to in a minute. While they're in Raphtalia's world, they're trying to find out more about it and to stockpile it, as well as raising their levels there. During their time doing this, they also find that a vassal weapon holder from their world has kind of hijacked the spirit tortoise, so they go to investigate that, and that's when they encounter Naofumi. I won't go into the whole spirit tortoise thing, as that will be in the anime very soon, but that's basically what leads to the first cooperative encounter between Naofumi and Glass. But why does the soul-soothing water power up Glass so much? Well, she's actually a spirit person, a race that exists in her world but not in Raphtalia's, and that means this potion that usually just leaves people in Raphtalia's world feeling a bit refreshed, and in the case of heroes, replenishes a hero-only stat called soul points, can completely heal her and boost her strength. Glass basically runs on soul points from a mechanics point of view, so in her world, that potion would be an instant cheat for spirit people. Naofumi, who can make it using the medicine-making skills he unlocked in his shield, will exploit this using his merchant abilities when he finds himself in Glass's world, which he will very soon in the anime. In any case, from now onwards, Glass isn't actually going to be an antagonist anymore. At the end of the fight with the spirit tortoise, Naofumi and his allies will cross over to Glass's world in order to pursue the one who unsealed the spirit tortoise, and as they cross over, they get split up. What happens to Raphtalia and Philo is a topic for another day, but Naofumi and Rishia end up in the same labyrinth prison as Glass's world's one remaining holy hero, Kizuna the Hunting Hero, who they quickly meet and join forces with. This is likely to be covered in Season 2, as Kizina does appear in the OP. Kizina will get her own video, so I'll just give you the basics about her here, but as the hunting hero, her weapon can transform into all sorts of hunting-related things, including knives, fishing rods, spears, all kinds of stuff. But while it is extremely versatile and strong, the hunting hero can only damage monsters and can't attack people. So, like Naofumi, she can't attack at all when the opponent is human or another race that counts as a person, so she can't attack spirits like Glass, demi-humans, or the various other fantasy race people. I'm saying that for the sake of brevity. There are certain things she can do that will allow her to damage people using her Curse series weapon, her curse being Sloth, by the way. But that's not really important to what I'm talking about here, so I'll go into it more in Kizina's own video. It can be a bit unclear to her in some situations whether her opponent counts as a person or a monster, such as some people who have been fused with monsters in an experiment. But in those cases, she just has to kind of try and attack them and figure it out during the fight. In general though, her ability to be really quite OP against monsters while harmless to people does match her personality. Kizuna is always one who would prefer to talk and find peaceful resolutions if the enemy is capable of being reasoned with, rather than killing or fighting. She is also obsessed with fishing. Now, Naofumi finds a way to break them out of the labyrinth, and after a while travelling in Glass's world, they eventually reunite Kizuna with her friends, who are the party we've already seen of Glass, Lark and Therese, along with some other characters I don't need to spoil anything about here. At this point, Kizuna scolds them for trying to kill heroes in other worlds, saying that rather than just believing the legends and trying to destroy other worlds, they should look for other answers and solutions. They take the scolding and agree not to go after heroes anymore, and from this point on, Glass, Kizuna and Lark, who is actually the king of the country they're in by the way, become permanent allies, and work together during various future plotlines to try to save both worlds. It's a good thing they do become allies too, because Raphtalia is actually chosen by the katana vassal weapon in Glass's world, and becomes one of their own vassal weapon holders, though that's something I'll go into more in a future video all about Raphtalia. Other people from Raphtalia's world also end up taking on very important roles in Glass's, so you can really think of Glass's world as being just as important in the story when it comes to what the characters are trying to save. But now we come to the important question. With Glass set to become an ally, is she also going to fall in love with Naofumi? Well, surprisingly, no. Glass is in love with Kizuna, though while this is obvious to everyone and they tease her about it all the time, leading to some really cute moments of the usually serious and badass Glass showing some gap moe awkwardness, Kizuna doesn't really seem to think about romance at all, only fishing. So far it's a bit one-sided as ships go. Naofumi actually really likes this about Glass, because some of the other female allies he meets along the way have a tendency to come on a bit strong in trying to get him into bed, and he hates it. There are plenty of plotlines in Glass's world that she will feature in, but most of them are to do with finding out what is ultimately causing the waves, and what can be done to save the various worlds affected by them, which is really the central mystery in the majority of the series. While Glass is involved in a lot of storylines, one where she features prominently and where we learn a lot more about her involves a return to Glass's original home, where she first trained in her fan-based martial arts style. As you might know if you watched my video about vassal weapons, the vassal weapons choose their holders, and when a weapon doesn't currently have a hero, people who believe they're suited to wielding it can become quite competitive in wanting to be chosen. This was the case in the environment Glass was training in, and when she was selected by the fan vassal weapon, this was something the other students, many of whom were of a higher status and believed they were more worthy of the weapon than her, began to turn on her. In any case, it seems there is something special about Glass, which may be what set her apart from the other students, and that is that she may be the equivalent in her world of something called a pacifier in Raphtalia's world. The pacifier is someone whose role is to keep the holy weapon holders in check and stop them if they basically turn evil and start abusing their powers. Pacifiers have access to some special skills and abilities that are especially powerful against heroes, so it's a good thing this wasn't something Glass knew about back when she was trying to kill Naofumi. The idea of pacifiers will be something that's quite important to the story in a number of ways in Raphtalia's world, but it mostly relates to Raphtalia, so I'll talk about it in the spoiler video about her instead. However, the fact that it's likely that Glass is descended from a lineage with a similar role in her world is interesting, though it's something that was introduced fairly late in the light novels, and so we'll have to wait and see where the author goes with it in future volumes. What we saw in the last volume, this, or things with Glass in general were discussed in, which was volume 19, was that as a spirit from this lineage, Glass can kind of possess another character called Shieldina, who is from Raphtalia's world, and is connected to the whole pacifier thing in ways I'll explain properly in Raphtalia's video. And together, they can do some particularly OP stuff. I expect we'll be seeing a lot more use of this in the future, but the current arc in the light novels has Naofumi and many of his allies, but not including Glass, sent to the past of Raphtalia's world, to the time of the previous shield hero, and so Glass and her world are not really involved in that, and we probably won't see her again until the story moves on to the next arc. One thing that was pretty cool about them all going back to Glass's hometown was that they took the old Hengen Muso lady with them, and she keeps on having epic battles against Glass's old fighting master. I think the two old masters are actually one of the best ships in the series. But that's really all I wanted to talk about with Glass in this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please consider subscribing, as I'll be making plenty more videos about different characters and storylines from the Rising of the Shield Hero throughout Season 2, including the ones going into all of the stuff I had to keep pretty high level in this one to stay on topic, like pacifiers, the waves, and Kizina. Thank you as always to my supporters on Patreon, and to everyone who helps me out by subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. Thanks for watching this one, and I hope to see you again very soon.